Welcome back, Wolfpack. Verlisify here, and this is how to use Alolan Raichu. So Alolan Raichu is going to be an electric psychic typing. This is an odd mix of weakness and resistance, but kind of think that psychic with a ground weakness and then a couple of other resistances from that electric typing. That's pretty much it. So we have a weakness from ground, bug, ghost, and dark type Pokemon. Then we also have resistances with fighting, flying, steel, electric, and psychic. Looking at us offensively, it's not really crazy that there's not a ton of resistances, but there's also not a ton of super effective hits, and then there is the ground and dark immunity. So pretty much you're going to be coasting on a ton of neutral hits. Then you might occasionally find a super effective hit between flying, water, fighting, or poison. And now it's time for the stats. So the change from Raichu to Alolan Raichu does leave a couple of buffs, kind of. So pretty much it's a few minor changes, but overall, think Raichu, and then give it 95 special attack and 85 attack. We did lose a slight amount on defense, and we did gain a slight amount to special defense, but really, we're still just a 110 base speed Pokemon with a little bit of damage. Now, when we head on over to Cerebi, this is where things start feeling really weird with the Alolan Raichu. Even though it's a completely different Pokemon, it's effectively just a Raichu with 95 special attack and a few other moves. It gets Psychic, and it's a Raichu. That's pretty much it. So I was looking at my Raichu guide, and like, yeah, Pikachu is going to evolve into Alolan Raichu, so we get access to those same things. And if somehow you have an event Pikachu, you can still use like the Endeavor Alolan Raichu if that comes up as something that you want to battle with. But other than that, yeah, we still have supportiveness in doubles, we have low damage because it's only a 95 special attack, we have a good amount of speed, and then we just use psychic type attacks instead, and we don't get lightning rods, so any kind of lightning rod plays we can make right there, it's going to be replaced with the Surge Surfer, so your Pokemon speed is going to be doubled on the electric terrain. That combos with Tapu Koko, and everyone's already talking about how it combos with Tapu Koko. So anytime you can get that electric terrain up, it's going to work out pretty well. But the strange thing about Pokemon Sun and Moon is that these Pokemon that evolve into their Alolan forms, and it's not the entire evolutionary line, it's just not possible in Pokemon Sun and Moon. So if you want to use regular Raichu in the 7th generation, that is 6th gen transfer only, and then it's pretty much rewritten as the Alolan Raichu for now. So it just kind of shows your egg moves, your transfer moves, your whatever. If it's on Pikachu, then it can go into the Alolan Raichu. So that leads to some interesting things. As for the level up, effectively the same things. We get Psychic and Speed swap instead. But then the TMs. So the TMs for the Alolan Raichu, it's effectively the exact same thing that Raichu gets, except a few more, like the Calm Mind. So we have a free 50% opportunity on our special attack if we take it on that Calm Mind. So outspeed Calm Mind, take a special hit, and then go for that extra damage. That could be something. Psyshock, Psychic, and then everything else is pretty much going to be the same. Egg moves, as I've just said, it's the same. So egg moves on the Pikachu, Raichu, Alolan Raichu, it's just going to be some tech / double stuff. That's where we get the fake out. That's where we can end up with something like the Encore. We have Volt Tackle, and we can set our own electric terrain. So another one that's weird is instead of going for Calm Mind, we can electric terrain, get 50% on our stab electric type hits, and then we're doubling our speed because of a Surge Surfer. Z-moves are also something that people have been picking up on the Alolan Raichu. So we have the Stoked Spark Surfer. Not an insane amount of base power that remember, you only get one Z-move per battle, and if you Z-move Thunder, that is going to give you a 185 on your Gigavolt Havoc. So that's something to consider right there. With the Stoked Spark Surfer, it will always leave the target with paralysis. So if it doesn't KO them, they're paralyzed at least. And I don't think that that's the purpose of a Z-move. Like, the purpose of a Z-move is either insane status buffs, or you just go for the finishing blow, and you can see that. Also, you might see it on the Shattered Psyche, just an insane push on that special Psychic type attack as well. Then we have like transfer only and improved stuff. So once transfer happens, not much changes. So transfer isn't really going to change much right there. And then we have pre-evolution moves. And it's mostly going to be the Nasty Plot or the Nuzzle if you're running something supportive like that. So yeah, it's effectively a Raichu, and that's why we want to go head on over to Pokemon Showdown and try to figure things out with the Raichu. So pretty much going off of these same exact things for a Raichu, you have 95 special attack, and then you fake out chip damage, hope your Thunderbolt into like Life Orb is what you're looking for, and that's just going to be straight up running it. Now, Raichu does work out pretty well in the Alola region for 7th generation. It's one of the faster Pokemon that were introduced in the 7th generation. So 110 speed, you outspeed things, you hit them pretty well, and then you don't really survive super powerful hits. So that's something that you have to be aware of right there. But overall, Psychic, Thunderbolt, and then coverage move. As for your coverage move, we've just kind of listed them off already. You can run the Focus Blast. You might find some kind of interesting super effective hit that you can score a KO off of right there. We have Calm Mind for the boosting. We have Nasty Plot for the hyper boosting. Because Raichu is still a powerful Pokemon under that Nasty Plot. You +2 your special attack. And if you can survive whatever the opponent's doing, well, now you have 110 speed. As long as you're outspeeding everything 110, you're using that +2, and then you're just throwing down stab damage, it works out. And with the Alolan Raichu, you get another stab option on that Psychic, and then Hidden Power. So people like going to that Hidden Power Ice, because as an Electric-type Pokemon, well, you want to hit Ground-type Pokemon, so that's super effective damage right there. Garchomp goes down, and yeah, I guess that's pretty much it. You destroy Garchomps and other 4x Ice weak Pokemon. So those are your coverage options. Also, some people, you can run things like the Grass Knot, because you still have Grass Knot. So you can kind of do whatever with the Raichu right there. And then pulling up another Raichu. So yeah, like I said, with the Calm Mind, it could change some things around. And then also, if you are running the Electric Terrain, also let's get the Alolan Raichu, because that's the accurate one. So we have the Alolan Raichu, and then we have Electric Terrain. So you can get away with setting this for yourself. But remember, now we're going to have to focus on some other things. Do you want the Focus Sash? Because if Focus Sash is up, well then that means now if Raichu goes down in a couple turns, you still get to make use of Electric Terrain for some other Pokemon on your team. Now with the Electric Terrain, we're also kind of outspeeding, kind of not really. It's really tough because if you're using Surge Surfer, then your idea is, well, I'm taking a hit anyways, so I can maybe just go for a bit more of a defensive investment. So I'd recommend like 100 defense, the rest into special attack, and then hit points, and then you can safely run a Modest Nature. So this is going to leech out as much damage as possible, because you're setting the Electric Terrain, you're finding the damage, and now you have usefulness for the rest of the battle for some other parts of your team, since Electric Terrain is that beneficial. You can maybe opt for the Terrain Extender to make it last for 8 turns. You can... I don't really like the idea of Life Orb, but it is something, because if you're only going to be on the field for 2-3 turns doing 2-3 KOs, if you take a big 60-70% hit, and then you're just Life Orb boosting the rest of your damage, you can still get away with that and do pretty good. Also, Modest Nature plus Life Orb plus Electric Terrain. That's where we're going to start going into some good KO ranges, potentially. And then with our hit point defense investment and special defense, we should be surviving better than your average Raichu. So that's when you go Thunderbolt, and then that's when you also go Psychic, and that's when you also have whatever other coverage move you want right here. And that might be a nice way of running the singles Raichu, or doubles if you still want that Electric Terrain, but you don't want to commit fully to the Tapu Koko, or have a Tapu Koko combo like that. So without Surge Surfer, it's a Raichu without an ability that has 5 more special attack. That's pretty much what the Alolan Raichu becomes. So now let's go into the damage calculations on the Alolan Raichu, and this is going to be Z move. So it's not like Alolan Raichu just runs out there and starts neutrally KOing everything. But I'm showing that the Z move kind of not worth it, that we have a 75 hit point, 70 uninvested Pokemon, and we're barely finding a KO. And also, once you've used your Z move, well, you're kind of screwed after that, because you don't have Life Orb, you don't have any extra damage coming out of the Raichu, so that can be a bit problematic right there. Also, one note I wanted to make, that if you are running something on the Electric Terrain, then it could be worth it just to also run a Choice Specs. Choice Specs, 110 speed, Thunderbolt, Electric Terrain, that's certainly going to be insane amounts of damage. Okay, so what about all that Electric Terrain stuff I was hyping up, that we either set it for ourselves or we do something? Well, Fake Out Electric Terrain Thunderbolt is going to find some decent ranges of damage. That Weavile, it's a 70-85 Pokemon, and between that, we can find enough damage to just go and score KO. Also, this is on Timid Nature. If we are running the Modest Nature, we are getting more damage. However, Weavile outspeeds us, but I'm just more looking at the defensive matchup right here. Now, we do get into other problems, though. Pokemon like the Silvally. Silvally is going to be just a tanky Pokemon, and even with that Electric Terrain, we have a chance to KO into that Fake Out Thunderbolt, but overall, it's not like a super reliable thing, and it will give us issues right there. Going into a Pokemon like the Garchomp, or any kind of ground Pokemon, is also going to be pretty interesting, because Modest Life Orb, that's going to be enough to get a KO on a Garchomp that doesn't have any kind of hit point or defensive investment like that. So that's what we're looking for right there. But against other ground type Pokemon, we can expect Psychic to be in that 2-hit KO-ish kind of range. But even though we're like floating on our tail, we're still susceptible to the Earthquake. I would have liked to see that like Surge Surfer would add something like also just always immune to Earthquake or something like that. That would have actually given Alolan Raichu a lot more power, but it doesn't work that way. So we still have to worry about just common ground moves going and blowing us up, but the utility from Fake Out is good in singles and doubles right there. So Modest Life Orb, damage, electric terrain, that's pretty much what we're looking at right here. Now, as for the Calm Mind sets or the Nasty Plot sets, so here we have Timid Nature because we're not gonna be like going for super surge surfing on electric terrain. So we're losing a lot of damage boosting right there. So if we add in the Life Orb and then we just double our damage, because let's just say we're gonna be running that Nasty Plot set for the most damage possible, we start finding KOs on Pokemon like Silvally, but if that Pokemon, like any Scarf Pokemon, is going to challenge us substantially, any Pokemon that's just bulkier or defensively invested, anything that's walling out our Thunderbolt, anything that's walling out our Psychic, now, there's a lot of options for us to kind of get slowed down when we're doing this, but if you manage that Nasty Plot setup and you continue to outspeed things, yes, that's when Thunderbolt KOs, that's when Psychic KOs, and that's where we can just kind of neutrally start running over the opponents. Also, something to consider just as your balance, like, alright, I hit that +2, very few things are going to challenge me right now, so that's kind of what we're looking at with the Alolan Raichu, and if you still have access to the Fake Out, you know, it's like Fake Out, Nasty Plot, Thunderbolt Psychic, you're finding the little bit of extra damage for free, you may be disrupting the opponent for an extra turn that could matter, and then you KO off of that. So there we go, guys, that is how you use Alolan Raichu. So guys, enjoy the video, hope you all have a nice day, thank you very much for watching.